Hey, I'm live. It's Melinda Kunst, and I am coming on to talk about why she stays. Now, I am saying she, and what I mean by this is why does a woman stay in an abusive relationship? And I'm saying she mainly because a majority of the time it's women that are being abused, okay? Or it's women that we hear more about that are being abused. Men can also be abused. It is something that I know I have come across. I've had men reach out and talk about this particular subject, but today it's why she stays. Okay. So just again, my disclaimer, I am not an attorney. I'm not a counselor. I'm just somebody that's been there and I understand. I've been 14 years free, and it can be hard if you've never been in an abusive situation to understand why does a person want to stay in something like that? Why don't they get out? They might have broken bones or the kids might be being abused. And it can be just so hard to wrap your mind around why this person is staying. And you might even be thinking to yourself, well, they must like it. They stay, right? Or maybe, and let's kind of get into some of these things here. There's Mr. Awesome, of why she stays. Mr. Awesome in there. There he goes. So they might feel or they might know in their heart that this person is going to take the kids away from them. They might have it so that person is threatening that they're going to take the kids, they're going to outlive her or the children. So that is a big factor of why she stays. There's no money. There's no money coming in for her. There is no insurance, no house, no job. Perhaps there's no support system there at all. Friends or family, religious community. It could be a culture thing that might shun her if she leaves. That person, that abuser, might say that she's the crazy one, that she is the toxic one, and tell everybody else. So then again, she has no support. She has nothing, no one to talk to. She's getting shunned again. She might strongly believe in the sanctity of her vows or her religious beliefs. You hear from religious leaders that divorce is a sin. If you leave your partner, you're sinning. What does God say about abuse? And I know this because this is something that I experienced myself. So that is something that definitely can happen. So she might also be afraid to be alone. Okay. She might have been taught since she was a child that she has to stay in this relationship. She has to stay with this partner. And it might be embedded in not only into her, but maybe siblings, the boys, you know what I mean, that they have to stay in this relationship. You've been taught that ever since you were young. You might not be able to figure out exactly how are you going to do this? How are you going to lead? How are you going to provide for your children? How are you going to keep your children safe? You are so worried about what if the judicial system comes along. They're supposed to be well-meaning, right? I'm going to joke about that, but they're supposed to be well-meaning. And many times the survivor finds herself fighting a battle for her life and for the life of her children because this abuser, this toxic person, and it's not necessarily a man. There are incidents, I know one right off the top of my head, where a survivor's mom is actually being this toxic person and trying to take the kids away. So it happens where it's not just him. It could be parents, it could be grandparents, and so on and so on. Or if you have those same sex partners, it could be your partner that's threatening to take away the kids or do harm and so on. Now, so she has this to be worried about as well. Now, all of these things, many of the things I'm mentioning, I'm pointing here because that's where my board is and you can't see it. That's where my notes are. All of these things are swirling around in the survivor's head. She is lucky if she can get dressed in the morning. She might have to drag herself out of bed. She might have to drag herself to that mirror to get herself ready in the morning, to get the kids ready. She is going through the motions and just trying to keep it together. It's very hard to focus. It's very hard to put on a brave smile when you feel like crap. Perhaps with self-esteem, this person has broken her down to such a degree that she is depressed. She doesn't feel like she's worth anything. She might feel like living her own self. She might be using substances in order to numb the pain. And of course, if that's the case, sometimes those abusers can use those things as a weapon in order to get the kids away. Now, maybe, just maybe, this is normal to her. And I'm not saying that this is something she enjoys. I am saying that this relationship that she's in, this toxic relationship, is something that is something normal to her. Hold on just one second. Thank you, my dear. Perhaps she is facing that mental health issues caused by the abuser. Okay, he might be making, and again, I'm just saying he because this is the commonality. It's him and her. So it could be that he has made her so broken her down so much, broken down her willpower, broken down her self-esteem, broken down the thoughts of making it through another day, that she has become chronically ill, become depressed. She has become so, so broken down. Okay. And I know I've said that again, but I just want to paint a picture for you what a person can actually look like. It can look because you're just looking from the window outside, getting a peek inside into what is going on, what is happening because you're just seeing this happy nuclear family or this person, that toxic person is the guy or a woman that gives to charity. They are well liked at work. They are somebody that's a pillar in the community. They are a deacon at church. They might be the pastor. They are that law enforcement person. And just somebody in the community that everyone looks to. How can they be abusive? And again, the crazy making where he is making her to be the bad guy, it happens. It happens. So again, that maybe this is normal to her. She grew up in that environment where it was toxic as a child. Maybe her whole family's like this. Maybe siblings are just as bad. Siblings might pick up those traits of that toxic parent as well. So all of this is due to the abuse. It's that fear. It's feeling stuck. Where am I going to go? What am I going to do? Feeling so helpless that you can't wrap your mind around how is this going to work? How am I going to get out of it safely? How am I going to keep the kids? How am I going to be able to keep a roof over our head? And again, all of this is going on in our head. And a big, unfortunately, I don't like to sugarcoat anything. So in a lot of circumstances, a lot of these things, sadly, those kids are taken away because the court system does believe him. Okay, or they believe that toxic person. They believe them. So unfortunately, oh, that's a different topic. Let's not get into that. So she might even feel a little guilty. Why? What? How can you feel guilty? She may feel, and I know this is because this is something I did. I felt that I was not working hard enough to make our relationship work. I felt that I needed to try harder in order to make things work. If I had, and I did the if, what, or should, or could us, if I had had that food on the table sooner, I wouldn't have made him blow up. If I had just did what he asked me to do in bed, I wouldn't be going through what I was going through. If I had just been okay with him having those affairs, things would have been okay. If I hadn't started the fight, or if I had just worded my sentence in the proper way rather than the other way, making me being the one that was belligerent and seeing like I was trying to pick a fight, maybe if I hadn't worded it that way, everything would have been okay. If I had just tried hard enough for my marriage, for my relationship, things would have been okay. So you have this guilt. If I leave this person, they're going to be alone. And it's the holidays. A big majority of survivors don't want to leave their partners that I've talked to. Let's just say that I've talked to, don't want to leave around the holidays. And I know I was one of those. I left purposely after the holidays because I didn't want him to be alone because of that guilt, because he's also saying that things that are making me feel guilty. So again, I didn't feel like maybe I wasn't trying hard enough. Maybe I wasn't doing the right things. Maybe if I had did this, dressed a certain way, I also had a feeling that I could fix him. I did. I did. I had that feeling that maybe I can fix him if I love him hard enough. Maybe if I boost him up hard enough. If I if I just show him what it is to be loved, then everything will be okay. I didn't want the kids to be unhappy. This is also a big one. The kids are happy with that partner. They are really look rose-colored glasses with the kids. They aren't maybe seeing what's going on, and some of it could be behind closed doors. So they're not seeing that abuse, or maybe that partner has made it in such a way that the kids believe mom is the bad guy. They have twisted it in such a way that mommy isn't listening. If she were to listen, then she wouldn't have got the punishment she got. Or if mommy would listen, then daddy wouldn't have gotten angry. If mommy had did this, then daddy wouldn't have gotten did this ABC. So these are things that happen. And mom does not want the kids to be unhappy. They want what they can happiness that they can have for the kids. They do, and we do. I know I did. You might love that abuser. You might feel in your heart, oh, you know what? I'm not in the hospital. He knocks me around a little bit, or it's just emotional abuse, it's just verbal abuse. I can handle it. It's not as bad as I hear on social media. I'm not like that person. So I will just stay. If I could just stay until they're 18, if I could just stay until they're in college, if I can just stay until we take that trip, that Disney trip after that, if I could just stay until the marriage, if I can just stay until the house is paid off, if I can just stay until we pay off those bills, if I can stay until we make that tax refund is going to really help. It's going to do what it needs to do in order to make him happy, in order for us to be happy. Have you said any of these to yourself? Now, the list that I just gave you, a big majority of what I just read off to you and what I just said are things that I know I said those. Things that I felt too. These are many of the struggles that I personally had when attempting to leave. Now, also too, what can I do to smooth things over? I can just make sure that the house is good. It's that fear. Again, when I mentioned fear, it's not only fear of being unlived or that he'll take a lot of stuff, and or maybe you don't want to leave your home or your things because you worked hard for those things too. You just don't want to leave that toaster. What I have learned is because I pretty much walked away without anything, even after the settlement, because he sold a lot of that stuff at a garage sale. He smashed a lot of the things. He destroyed much of the property. He even went so far as to come into, when I had left him, into my apartment and steal things. And I never got those back that I bought after I had gotten a job. I never got those things back. And then I had to really realize that those things are just things. I can replace those. I could not be replaced. So, honey, if you are out there listening, you cannot be replaced. You are valuable. You are precious. You are doing the best thing that you can right now by staying alive. Make a list, plan. Sometimes you don't have time to plan. Things can just escalate to where you have to go. And unfortunately, you might not have that support person. You might not have that community. Unfortunately, many survivors, for those that haven't been in this, end up homeless. And it's not by the survivor's choice. And sometimes it is. Sometimes the survivor would much rather be homeless than live in that toxic relationship. But unfortunately, then you have that other bit where the kids are then homeless too, and that is another nightmare. And these legal nightmares that we have, and I don't want to get into too much of that, but these are many of the reasons why she stays. So again, if you've never been in a toxic relationship, you can't wrap your mind around what I just read off. If you can't, if you think that she's dumb, if you think she's stupid for staying, or again, as I mentioned before, she must like it. No, no, she doesn't. offer support, offer some love, maybe share some resources for her, just to even just a message to say, "Hey, I believe in you." That can go such a long way. Now, if you have any questions, any concerns, any thoughts at all about what I just said, what I just talked about, if you want to know more, by all means, message me privately. You are welcome to do so. If you just want to find out where resources are, if you are a survivor watching this, please don't hesitate to message me privately. That's fine too. And just know that I'm going to lift you up. I'm going to send you some light. I'm going to send you some love, and just know that you're not alone. There are many of us that have went through this situation and came out of the other end with a little bit of a weight off our shoulders. Is it still hard after you leave that toxic person? Yes, there are still struggles. Again, I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. There can be things that go sideways, but this is why it's so important to have that paper trail, to have that attorney, to look at all the options that you can. If you can't find a shelter that's in your hometown, look 10 miles out, look 20 miles out, look 100 miles out, look wherever you have to in order to get to shelter or to have somebody talk to you. Look for a trauma informed a therapist, counselor, an attorney even. There are pro bono attorneys. Just whatever you need to do, keep that paper trail, keep a list of things of why you're leaving, keep a running list of things of why or what this person's doing, text messages and so on. So you have a record of that when you go forward. And there's more, but again, I think that's enough. I hope this helps somebody maybe understand a little bit that hasn't been on this side. That, again, if you can't fathom this, I am so happy for you that you've never had to experience this. I really am with all my heart. But please remember, this isn't something that she likes. It's not that she loves this. She's doing what she has to do to survive. Stay safe. God bless. Bye.